Are you sharing the recording? Sorry. Yeah.
Yep. Welcome everyone to this webinar, and a special welcome to you here in the conference center in Copenhagen, Denmark, and of course to all of you joining us from around the world. We have participants from really all around the world. We have from Asia, that participants have chosen to skip their dinner and be with us instead. We have from Europe, of course, they have then skipped their siesta. And then in the US, some of you must have set your clocks really early to be with us for this. And of course, chosen an extra strong cup of coffee to be up and awake for the next hour. We really appreciate it. And we'll do everything we can to ensure that your time is well spent. This is truly a global audience, as you can hear, and that doesn't surprise us, because around the world we do see that regulations are becoming more complex, rules are stretching across jurisdictions, and teams are spending more and more time on manual compliance tasks. The pressure to cut costs and reduce compliance risk is only increasing for everyone, and that's exactly why we're here today. These forces are driving the rise of a new powerful category of technology, RegTech, as you may have heard. McKinsey recently in an article pointed out that RegTech isn't just about efficiency or ticking boxes. It's about supercharging risk and compliance teams, enabling them to play a more strategic role in their organizations. And that we'll probably dive into in our Q&A with Michael later at the end of the session. We also believe that AI will play a transformational role as a game changer in the world of GRC. So today we have put together an agenda that really looks at both the big picture, the long-term perspectives, and the here and now. How can AI help organizations tackle today's compliance challenges, especially when resources are stretched? So now, please switch to the agenda. So I will go through. So Michael Rasmussen will share his long-term view on the perspective of AI and GRC. Then Anders will show you that AI isn't just for the future, not only a vision, it's already here and now. It's powerful and it's delivering real results, real cost savings already today. And finally, I can share with you, we have some breaking news. A little cliffhanger, especially for those of our American audience, so you can stay up awake. Keep sipping your coffee, but I tell you, so it's really actually very, very interesting news right at the end. And we therefore have a special guest to join us for that session as well. But first, Michael, it is really a true pleasure for us to hand over to our distinguished guest speaker, Michael Rasmussen. The floor is yours.
Turn audio on. So bear with me as I just transition here. Okay. I trust everybody's hearing in the audio because we're like switching themes. But I'm Michael Rasmussen. I'm an analyst. I've got 33 years total experience and 25 as an analyst. I define my job as research. I research what are the challenges companies face in the context of governance, risk management, and compliance, and how do they go about solving that with strategy, process, and technology. Again, we're here to talk about AI and GRC, and I guess if you're using that GRC acronym, you can have me to blame for that. Back in February 2002, on a cold, snowy day in the Chicago office of Forrester Research, I defined and modeled a market for technology and labeled it GRC. So I've been called the father of GRC from that perspective, being the first to use that acronym. And I've been working in this space for many, many years and cover the range of solutions like Evolve with Eve that are out there in the market, as well as many of its partners and what's going on at the moment. So let's talk about AI and GRC, drivers, trends, and directions. I'm going to provide some high-level perspective that'll give context to unrolling the hood and looking at the details of what Eve's delivering in the governance, risk, and compliance space. But let's take a voyage on the Starship Enterprise first. I didn't mention I have two podcasts. I have a Risk is Our Business podcast, which has a Star Trek theme to it and a Hitchhiker's Guide to the GRC Technology podcast. But, Star Trek is all defined right here. Let's unpack what Captain Kirk has to say and apply it to artificial intelligence in GRC.
They used to say if a man could fly, he'd have wings. But he did fly. He discovered he had to. Do you wish that the first Apollo mission hadn't reached the moon, or that we hadn't gone on to Mars and then to the nearest star? That's like saying you wish that you still operated with scalpels and sewed your patients up with catgut, like your great-great-great-great-grandfather used to. I'm in command. I could order this. But I'm not. Because Dr. McCoy is right in pointing out the enormous danger potential in any contact with life and intelligence as fantastically advanced as this. But I must point out that the possibilities, the potential for knowledge and advancement is equally great. Risk. Risk is our business. That's what the Starship is all about. That's why we're aboard her.
Two key takeaways from there. Risk is our business. Every business is a starship of risk. The business that's not taking risk is the business that's out of business. And, going from future starships to medieval ships. I've got a master's in medieval church history. So Thomas Aquinas from that'd be the 12th century, 13th century. He stated if the highest aim of the captain was the preservation of the ship, he would leave it in port forever. If the highest aim of the captain was the preservation of the ship, he would leave it in port forever. But that's not what ships are designed for. Whether it's medieval ships, whether it's futuristic starships like the Enterprise, they're meant to take risks, and your business is meant to take risks. Are we taking and managing those risks correctly? And that's core to this. But in the context of AI, that's also how do we adopt AI and stay competitive with the business in leveraging AI in the business as well. And in this little clip here, that the video wasn't working up there, but you heard the audio. But you had Captain Kirk talking about things that we've done historically, like you stowed up our patients with like Dr. McCoy with catgut and things, which they didn't do in the future, and in the stitching and things. We have advancements in technology, and we're in this midst of advancement technology with artificial intelligence now. And we've got the risk AI brings into the business that needs to be properly governed, and we have the EU AI Act. But we also have how do we leverage AI, like with Eve that we'll see here, to advance governance, risk, and compliance within the business as well. But part of our problem, now back to the current slide, is that so many GRC programs, so many risk programs, compliance, internal control, audit and assurance programs, they're like driving a car down the road, but you're not looking at the road ahead of you, you're looking at the road behind you. You're looking in the rearview mirror the whole time. It's like driving with the rearview mirror. Because by the time you gather all this information and report on it and try to get perspective on this, you're dealing at the past, not the present, and certainly not the future. And our eyes need to shift to the road ahead of us, which means we need technology and even leveraging and adopting AI to help us with the horizon scanning, what's coming at us and the prediction, but also to facilitate the gathering of the information to what's relevant here and now. So many times I've come across organizations like this one firm, 200 hours to build a risk report for the board of directors. And by the time they gathered all this information, they found out they had risk issues that were months ago. They're out of control now. That's not managing risk at that point. That's reacting to risk. And we need to start forward looking in risk and compliance management, which really requires we start thinking about how do we adopt technologies for governance, risk, and compliance, particularly AI, and to be able to leverage us and put us more forward looking, not just rearview mirror looking. But we need to take AI to enable us to navigate uncertainty on the road ahead. And so I'm a big believer in ISO 31000. And ISO 31000, the international standard on risk management, says risk is the effect of uncertainty on objectives. That gives us the context that the rearview mirror is an important safety device, same as the dashboard. We need to be able to glance at that. But our eyes need to be on the road ahead of us. What's coming at the organization from a regulatory perspective, from a risk perspective? How do we prepare for that? And we have a lot of information that needs to come into that and provide us context on that. This requires that AI become a significant part of what I call GRC orchestration. And in my models of the market, I talk a lot about GRC 7.0, GRC orchestrate. And that's not actually a term that I developed. That's a term that my friend Ian Hollowbred created. Ian Hollowbred was the chief operating officer for digital innovation at ING Bank. And he ran ING Labs in London. And I worked with them putting a lot of this futuristic GRC technology through the paces and looking at things. We compared notes quite frequently on what was going on in technology in the market. But he had this whole project with an ING called GRC Orchestrate. You know, how can we leverage a lot of different technology? Because there's not one solution out there that it solves all of GRC's needs. It's an ecosystem and it's an architecture of risk and compliance, technology and content and intelligence, and it requires orchestration. And so I've taken that term GRC orchestrate with permission from Ian Hollowbred and have leveraged it for GRC 7.0 GRC orchestrate to be able to leverage AI, you know, things like agentic AI and natural language processing and machine learning, predictive analytics to enable orchestration across the business. You look at a symphony, and there's lots of pieces to the symphony orchestra. The violins, the violas, the cellos, the bass, the woodwinds, the brass, the percussion. This is your business. You know, you've got IT risk, or what I like to call digital risk and resilience. You've got enterprise and operational risk and resilience. You have corporate compliance and ethics. You got the audit and assurance department. And you've got to conduct the symphony of things like EU DORA, the EU AI Act, and NIS2 and things. This isn't one department that has to deal with this. It's multiple departments, including procurement and supply chain and third-party risks and the digital supply chain. There's so much going on in the symphony of the business and requires orchestration across a lot of different departments. And AI has a fundamental component in orchestrating this and bringing this information and perspective together. It's been attributed to both Einstein and Schumacher, so I don't know who it originally came from, but the statement is that any intelligent fool can make things bigger, more complex, and more violent. It takes a touch of genius and a lot of courage to move in the opposite direction. And that's what we're faced with today, is with new evolutions in technology like artificial intelligence. And how do we take this to take all this massive information and make better sense of it? You know, Winston Churchill stated that we have all this conflicting information, and true genius resides in making sense of a lot of conflicting, disparate, siloed information out there. I'm paraphrasing him, not quoting him directly because I don't have my specific slide here to refer to. But, you know, that's what things like Eve from Evolved Solutions delivers, is that use of AI in governance, risk, and compliance to bring a lot of conflicting information and disparate information and perspectives from the regulation itself to all this information that has to be gathered for reporting to provide validation on that. And that's what the interesting perspective that we're seeing today that is so necessary to manage things from third-party risks to enterprise and operational risk down to the digital risk and resilience of the organization, and dealing with things like NIS2 and DORA and the EU AI Act and CER and so much more out there, even into the US where I'm from on Sarbanes-Oxley. And there's so much coming at organizations. So my perspective on all this is governance, risk management, compliance should not be the handbrake. You know, AI enables GRC to be the navigation system, helping the business steer safely through uncertainty towards its objectives. The heart of the GRC definition, defined in the OSEG GRC capability model, is that GRC is a capability to reliably achieve objectives, whether they're entity-level objectives, whether they're objectives around information like personal information, confidentiality, integrity, availability. You know, they're in layers in between, or even in a third-party relationship, you've got objectives. We achieve those objectives, we address the uncertainty in the context of those objectives, and of course and that's risk management, and we act with integrity, the compliance aspect of it. And so GRC is a capability to reliably achieve objectives, the G, address uncertainty, the R, and act with integrity, the C. And AI enables this to help be the navigation system for the business to be able to focus on the road ahead of us, not just the road behind us. So with that, that's my introduction. I was only given 15 minutes and I'm at 15 minutes. I could spend a whole day on this and get much deeper. But with that, I'm going to turn this back over to Anders, I think, next, right? To give us some perspective on what they're delivering in this context.
Thank you, Michael. And you touched upon, there's a little bit of echo.
Yeah,
There we go. Well, first of all, allow me to introduce myself. I'm the co-founder. And next to me, I have my other co-founder, Ralph, sitting here. When we started E-V-E GRC, we basically sat down as two risk professionals, having worked as chief risk officer, head of internal audit, a partner in Big Four, and said, if we want to use AI for something, what would be most valuable for the profession? What we thought was remove the heavy manual work, that being control reviews, compliance reviews, rolling out GRC or third-party risk management application requires some effort, but living with it with a manual review requires huge effort. We wanted to automate control reviews and compliance reviews with speed and precision with AI that doesn't hallucinate, and that's what we want to share with you today. Our solution is providing true value to the teams using it today, from pharma clients to banking clients, addressing complex regulations in Europe, that being DORA on these two, CSRD within the sustainability agenda, and all are getting the same value out of our solution. You can argue whether it's a GRC. It's definitely a part of the GRC. It comes with part of the puzzle. It doesn't come with the end-to-end solution. That's also why we're partnering up with some of the leading GRC providers in the market to bring our solution into existing platforms. Now, what it does is actually quite simple. It automates 80% plus of your control or compliance review. And what does that mean? Well, it basically means that while you historically have been left with the manual review of compliance, whether it's for SOX or financial controls, whether it's for information security, third-party risk management, everything has been manual. Imagine a world where that stops. That's what we wanted to do. That's what we wanted to build, and that's what we have built. So from spending tons of time in terms of checking, teams can now and are actually right now changing towards supporting the business, fixing, being proactive, exactly like you said, Michael. AI should be an enabler, an accelerator of improving risk and resilience, and that's what our solution actually supports. So it's an 80% plus reduction in your manual efforts, doing not only an annual compliance or maturity assessment, but actually doing ongoing reviews. That also means that if you're saving 80% of your time, your return on investment or your business case is enormous. We have clients where we're talking about reduction of, not reduction actually, but relieving of up to 10, 15 people's work through the year of checking third parties and contracts. That's for us the true value of AI. And it's in hours, not months. We onboard clients within an hour. And within the same month, they go from the manual ways of working into an AI-powered approach. It also reduces human errors dramatically. I get tired. Michael gets tired, probably not as quick as I do. And AI does not get tired and does not make mistake. Our solution does not hallucinate, and it allows for continuous controls update. And of course, it eliminates the costly manual reviews, and it accelerates audit readiness from days to hours, or inspection readiness if you are working within financial services or alike. So what's not to like? I absolutely agree. That's also why when we work with clients, they typically start with one area to get a proof case, and then they expand. First the compliance officer, then the legal team, then the third-party risk management team. We follow our clients, which is also what you'll see when you see our journey and what comes out of the box. Comes out of the box, meaning in terms of what have we pre-configured. Before this, just a few months ago, we only had a few frameworks, but we have automated our framework generation. So as you can see, there's quite a lot of out-of-the-box solution which you can give and take and set up instantly. Anything from ranging to a general compliance assessment for DORA, the regulations for resilience for financial services company in Europe. A normal assessment would most often take 2 to 3 months and often be supported by external consultants. You can, in principle, now do DORA in a few days if you have your documentation ready. More realistic is that you can go through an end-to-end DORA compliance assessment, present it to your board in 1 to 2 weeks. DORA, third-party risk management, strict requirements now to actually be able to demonstrate that you check your third parties, something most companies have already struggled with just due to a limited perspective. And now our solution actually allows third parties to access our solution. So they will instantly get their compliance gap assessment at the same time that the contracting company can actually see the compliance status across their portfolio of critical third parties. And of course, third-party risk management is not worth much if you haven't also stipulated your rights and the requirements in contracts. Our AI screens long 250 plus contracts in less than 10 minutes and gives detailed recommendation. For NIS2, for critical infrastructure client, we have exactly the same pre-configured solution set up, different requirements, but same functionality. You can do your ISO 20001 compliance review. Recently, we just set up secure control framework. And as you can see, there are a few other frameworks in a beta version and being developed. Why in earth spend time on manual reviews month after month when you can have an AI do the work and focus on actually how to improve and support your team? Teams are too often blamed for spending too much time and looking down into the screen. Now they can have that workload removed and focus on actually supporting their business and the objective, as Michael mentioned before. Financial excellence, finance control review. If you sit in US and are listed, you would know the amount of work and hours and cost that goes into SOX, the control for financial reporting in Europe. We have different regulations and frameworks, but it is set up. And of course, we are aware that you would need to adjust the requirements and the controls because it needs to fit with the individual company. As CIO asked me to set up data processing agreement, so we set it up in a day. And the general counsel asked me whether our AI could check general terms and contract, liability terms, insurance terms, and so on and so forth. And it's set up and it's ready to be adjusted for individual companies. Sustainability, a general assessment. Of course, in Europe, if you're working with the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, our AI can help you to become audit ready, check everything from annual reports to procedures. By the way, since it provides audit track, you also get most likely a discount in your external audit fee, because who would argue that they need as much time as they normally do when they are told exactly where they can find the evidence of compliance. ESG due diligence for third parties and a standards for small and medium-sized companies. But we can set up any framework, the title of today's session, within days or weeks, depending on the complexity. So you get your own controls set up, and we can API it. If you have a GRC or TPM system, we are absolutely ready to support customization right now.
Yes, now it comes. Because the slide didn't change. You need to go to presentation mode.
So how does it work? Quickly, it's 4 steps. Step number 1, upload your contract. Step number 2, select the requirements in which you want to check. You, within minutes, depending on the size of the documentation you're submitting, you get a detailed compliance review, better than human. And where you have gaps, you get recommendations, not only what to change, but also where to change your documentation package. So very simple steps with powerful result. And of course, your data stays yours, and our AI is not learning from any of your documents. Now, enough about PowerPoint. Let's move to the actual solution. See, there we go. Now, I'm starting a little bit in the core. In the core means how does an AI suddenly become an expert better than human? Well, we build it in Microsoft Azure on top of OpenAI, and we build exactly what experts like McKinsey is saying is the right way to do it. We build a set of agents working in different roles that together actually becomes a very, very powerful, both experts in the individual risk domains, but also an auditor, which is more powerful than most humans. So what you see in front of you is the solution out of the box if you use it. So let's just take a quick tour. First of all, we have and support multiple languages. So if you want the user interface to change, we can absolutely support that. Secondly, as in any other solution, you can set up your users and business entities. We're not going to look at that today. So let's take a look at third-party risk management for DORA. So bye-bye to legacy questionnaires with low quality, and welcome to AI-powered third-party risk management. The way it works, I can see there's a slight delay. The way it works is that you basically name your review and select the control catalog you want to test. You pick the controls or requirements in which you want to have your evidence evaluated against. And now it's loading. So let's just take a minute or a few seconds here while our Wi-Fi is picking up. So as you can see here, I have selected a number of business continuity and disaster recovery controls as an example. You can easily deselect. For regulatory frameworks, of course, that doesn't make sense. You have to comply, but you could have documentation which is not relevant for a number of controls. Now you're actually ready to the fun part, which means that don't do as you normally would do. Don't go manual, go AI powered, and you simply drag and drop your documentation. We support all the typical document types. You upload one or multiple documents. If multiple, you click consolidated results because the AI is able to read through 10, 15 documents at the same time and compare it up against the requirement. If you want the outcome in a different language than English, you just change and you push submit. So what happens? Well, let's take a look at the bottom. Here you have a document. It's been processed against 2 areas. It was 14 controls. And if it was someone in your team and you want to check what did they actually check these documents for, you can go in and have a look. It was processed last month, and it's partially compliant. We operate with 4 levels of compliance, and since there's 14 controls, this is an average compliance score. You can download the document if you want to see what was uploaded. You can download the result that comes out in Excel, and you can use it for internal reports, or you can just have a look at the power of E-V-E GRC, which is not that different than what you would see for a very skilled risk and compliance manager, but now that manager could have spent the 80% with something else, especially helping his colleagues. Now, to the left, you see the requirements, control description, objective, references, and since this is DORA, you have detailed references down to article and page level. So if you have inspection coming from outside, you have a really, really nice audit track. But you also have references to good practice, which is key because then the recommendations also is referenced to that. Now, the real core in our solution is what you see in the middle. Here you see the AI arguing for how well the submitted business continuity plan actually lives up to the DORA requirement around having a business continuity plan. And as you can see, it's not compliant. But the solution first describes what is good, and it makes reference to what it has found, exactly like a skilled compliance or control manager or risk manager would do. And then it explains what is actually missing with breakdown on details which should have included in the document submitted. It then makes reference to where in the document you can find it, and if you click, the document would open up. Now, our first client said, well, now I just have a huge problem because your AI have analyzed my documentation and gives me tons of gap. Well, that's where the last part of the puzzle comes in. Our solution gives sub-gaps, so it breaks down the gaps into sub-gaps with sub-recommendations, suggested text, location, and input to improvements. Now, the AI doesn't know your company, so it comes with general recommendation. However, if we're talking about contracts or like, it starts to come with wording, which can easily be adopted and inserted into a documentation. As you can see, it has multiple recommendations, and of course, this is where the human steps in. Good practice is not to let AI take over yet. AI is not there yet, so human have to step in and say what works for my company. Now, let's take another example for a contract. Here's a requirement where actually quite a lot of requirements where a contract has been uploaded, an IT contract. There's a requirement here to enforce that the third party has proper supply chain risk management set up and implemented third-party security controls. And here, it's not very compliant. So the AI, again, does exactly the same. This is for NIS 2. It explains what is there. But since it has very low compliance score, it swiftly shifts to what is actually missing. It comes with page reference where it could find some elements of compliance. And then, as before, it starts to explain how you can improve your risk and compliance position. Here it's about, of course, third-party risk management requirements. And here it comes with suggested text. And as you can see, it's so detailed that it's not far from something you can copy into your outsourcing contract. As before, you have multiple recommendations for one requirement, and the AI powers through. And as I said, it can analyze hundreds of pages within minutes, depending on the documentation and how it's structured. The last one, moving back to an area which a lot of companies start with, and I would say probably forever, would continue to be a challenge, financial controls over internal reporting, or internal controls over financial reporting. We've set up a dummy catalog of controls. Just for demo purposes, all the usual processes. And obviously, you can select which one you want to have tested and thereby replacing control testing. And as before, you see here multiple demo result. Here's one where all intercompany accounts must be reconciled at period end, something that takes quite a lot of time. I've taken this example because an AI is actually also fair. And in this example, the uploaded documentation, which is documents related to intercompany reconciliation statements and confirmation from counterparts, it's actually matching the control requirements. So here's an example actually where the AI is saying you are absolutely 100% compliance, which is also why you don't see recommendations. Automating financial control testing is quite easy, and it's also that pays off instantly. We're talking to clients where we're saving hundreds of thousands of euros and dollars kicking in from the first month, which basically means that our solution is self-funding from day one. Now, we also want to see an overview. So what I'm sharing to you now is just a simple dashboard we built for the purpose to have an overview. You can, of course, filter on business units, whether it's internal entities or it's third parties, or you set up your contracts or IT assets. You can filter on the framework. Here it's third party, and you can filter on control frameworks and sub-frameworks and time period for the testing you have performed. You firstly see your overall score. It's easy and nice to copy out. You probably don't want to do it if you have the score as is indicated here. But what is more relevant and probably more interesting is that down here you see per the sections in your framework, you start to see how you perform on a control level versus what has been analyzed. So here, as an example, for ICT security policy implementation, you're actually doing quite well. You're mostly compliant on 5 of the requirements, whereas you're only partially compliant on one of them. On access controls, it looks quite different. You have a huge issue and someone should get going with whatever action plans that has been recommended. However, as you can also see, for quite a lot of the areas, you still have work to do in terms of getting your reviews automated. However, remember, what the solution have just done is probably doing weeks of work in minutes. We have big audit firms using our solution for audit. They are uploading annual reports. It analyzes an annual report in around 15 to 30 minutes, something that takes Big Four skilled auditors more than 100 hours. Imagine the return on investment, but also the efficiency gains you're getting from a solution like ours. And that was the tour. So let's go back and continue with our session. Now, that was our quick demo. You will be able to find also a video plus the recording, of course, of this very soon. But I did mention something. I did mention that it's plug and play. And plug and play doesn't just come for us being able to set you up technically in an hour. It also comes with actually acquiring a license to our system. It's quite important to say our commercial model is not you pay per users, you pay per framework. No, you pay per volume. So the more you use our solution, the higher benefit you have. And that's what you pay for. The best way to get our solution is through Microsoft. It's built in Microsoft Azure. We have a Microsoft partnership. We have support, obviously, from Microsoft in terms of our development. That's how the partnership model works. You can basically start today. You go on Microsoft Marketplace and click, and you will be up and running quite soon. You can also, of course, contact us using our email, but it's super simple. We want to enable people to work efficiently and get the value of AI, and that's absolutely the best way. There's no reason for waiting. We're not competing against your current GRC or TPM solution. We can integrate, so I would encourage you to reach out as soon as possible. Now, another news, and here I actually hope to be able to welcome a special guest. Tom has been up early, but just yesterday, our solution was the first approved AI solution for secure control framework assessment. It's been a journey for us to get there, and I want to welcome Tom. Tom, if you can unmute and maybe share a few words, then I have a slide on that. Are you there, Tom?
Oh, I am. Good morning or good afternoon to everyone. I'm Tom Cornelius. I'm the founder of the Secure Controls Framework, and I'm very pleased to announce that E-V-E GRC is now a Secure Controls Framework authorized platform organization. So we just completed proof of concept testing with E-V-E to essentially find a way to make cybersecurity assessments more cost effective and more efficient. If you're unfamiliar, the SCF is in partnership with the CyberAB, the same organization that governs the Department of Defense's cybersecurity maturity model certification. They're the accreditation body for CMMC. They're also the accreditation body for the Secure Controls Framework for our conformity assessment program. And one of the challenges is to essentially, help companies find the most efficient way to prepare for and then to go through assessments. The SCF has an assessment methodology, essentially AI enabled, where we had that already established, but it was nice to have a technology come to the marketplace that could fit that need. So one thing we were able to prove through testing is we did not occur or run into any false positives, which was very very nice to see. And the efficiencies definitely are something that can drastically cut the cost of a company to prepare for, and then also working with a third-party assessment organization to go through an assessment to not only a point in time, but also to do continuous compliance activities. So it's really pretty exciting to have E-V-E GRC as part of the SCF ecosystem.
Thank you, Tom. And I was so happy that I woke up to this news after some tough days and nights to get our solution through the gate. Thank you a lot. Let's move on with the remaining part of the webinar. I'm muted.
Oh, you're muted. Okay. And now we get to the Q&A. Michael, we have a question for you.
Hopefully I have an answer.
Yes. You are described as the GRC, as also in your introduction, the nervous system of the organization. How, because you alluded to that, sort of, how do you see that nervous system changing the next 5 to 10 years? Will it become the brain of the enterprise? Will it be the interpreter or the governance and the risk signals? How do you see the nervous system developing?
Well, that's a lot of what I define in GRC 7.0, GRC Orchestrate, because it's the 7th generation of GRC technology from GRC 1.0, which was really what I called the Sarbanes-Oxley captivity of GRC, to GRC 2.0, which is enterprise GRC. GRC 3.0 is GRC architecture, because there's not one platform that does everything. GRC 4.0, the future is built on that, but that's that agile GRC, that low code, no code. And when I say GRC, I'm saying it broadly, because it could be split around third-party risk, or it could be enterprise risk, corporate compliance. There's over 1,500 solutions I've mapped into the GRC market. So there's lots of niches and best-of-breed areas, too. GRC 6.0, 5.0 is the original focus on AI with what I call cognitive GRC, with natural language processing and machine learning, predictive analytics. And then we moved into, just a reminder that it's about the business. And so GRC 6.0 is a business integrated GRC. But GRC 7.0, the GRC Orchestrate, that's early pieces of it are here today. But I don't think we're going to see full maturity of this in adoption until about 2030. And as we evolve and mature in AI over the next 5 years. And that's the world of things like agentic AI, for that more autonomous GRC and automation, or semi-autonomous, let's say, to start with, for allowing some human interaction, but suggestions and things to react to risk conditions or compliance or control issues. It also involves things like digital twins for like modeling risk and what if scenarios and planning, and a lot of these really interesting things. As you already know, I'm a Star Trek fan, so Strange New Worlds, which I absolutely love, the current season, the second episode of the season that was just released, you have Spock and the Doctor having a digital twin of a human body, because one of the officers was infected by the Gorn DNA. And they're trying to come up with treatment plans. I'm getting a lot of interaction on digital twins for GRC. I've had complex European organizations that say, let's use digital twins to model our supply chain, so that if China invades Taiwan, how does that disrupt our supply chain and things? What are the different outcomes and resilience approaches to this? And so, part of GRC Orchestrate is that agentic AI. Another big piece of it is digital twins and that analyzing and forecasting and that forward-looking aspect of it.
If you look then into the here and now and the short term, also what Anders explained, what do you see as some of the most promising technologies? Is that of the likes of Eve, that automating the current pressures from the manual work and actually releasing capacity to address the business needs?
That's exactly it. Yeah, because technologies and you leveraging AI like Eve helps organizations to keep up with where they need to be keeping up right now. I mean, there's organizations, even with GRC platforms, that have tons of hours in reporting and tweaking and things and gathering information. And it's very time consuming. It's that rearview mirror aspect. And organizations need to leverage technologies like Eve and with that AI to condense that time. I mean, if AI can reduce 80% of that time, that frees up resources to be more forward-looking in risk management and to even get things done that aren't getting done.
So, this is probably almost a segue into your the question for you then is, can you give some concrete examples of how Eve has driven the approach and changed the way many clients approach risk and compliance in practice these days?
Let me tell you, one of our clients, well, first of all, when I engaged with the client and we first talked to the chief compliance officer in one of the leading banks, I met with the member of the team because we were discussing how it would change the roles, first, second, and third lines of defense. One of the members from first line of defense was the CIO, who started out saying, I don't believe AI can do this because I've been working with ChatGPT and it's hallucinating. Well, after a small proof of concept, he shifted into, I want to use it for everything. And that client we're still working with. They started with Dora, which reduced the workload tremendously. They're now looking into third-party risk management and contract reviews, and we're following them. They don't care about who gets the benefit. Everyone gets the benefit. First line doesn't need to do the review. Second line doesn't need to check that the first line does it. You have to adopt and change the ways of working. And third line is auditing the AI rather than first and second line. So it's 80% in first line, and then also most likely in the other parts, which I haven't even calculated with. So it is really about AI adoption and changing the way of working, which of course doesn't happen. Another client, the manager went on paternity leave, which was fantastic. His assistant forgot the AI, and we forgot to remind her. So when he came back and he said, how you been doing? Well, I've been suffering. I've been checking sustainability reports and documents for the last 2 months, and it's been killing me. And he was saying, why have you done that? You should have used the solution we have bought, which is allowing us to stay a small and efficient team, but do more. A third example is a huge third-party risk management team, where due to the regulations coming in Europe for financial services, he would either have to go to his CFO and asking for actually around 15 more FTEs. And when he saw our solution and also our resource estimate, because we have that for all frameworks, he could actually go to the CFO with a benefit case where he's saving money and actually relieving teams he already have working today on other tasks. So it's very easy. And we always say, start small. Let's find one. Take one of the pre-configured framework, showcase it. And you know what, Michael, I think you would love this. Imagine being a GRC member, second line or third line. You have been claimed and been looked at as a cost center. Now you can be a disruptor, a transformer, and you can come actually with triggering an efficiency journey, a digital transformation, starting out of GRC. I would have loved that when I was a chief risk officer, instead of rolling out a GRC solution to 11,000 users. Now that's what AI does for GRC team. Mm-hmm. It allows GRC team, whether it's a risk officer, compliance officer, or an internal auditor, to actually digitalize and come with business opportunities, because you're not only being relieved of your own time, you're also relieving other teams of their time, which they otherwise would have been forced to do manually. So it's not the future, it's today. And that's what we have built. And we, of course, eager to continue to build it. And we're working on some very exciting developments, which we'll be sharing over the coming months.
Great, Hans.
Exciting times.
It is. But if you look then at the potential, what do you see as possible barriers from GRC organizations for adopting such new technologies? Do you see any hurdles that will prevent GRC teams to take advantage of the solution?
Well, I mean, one is people are scared for their jobs. It's like, oh, well, is this going to do my job? And they're scared that, it's going to replace them. And so humans are still needed, and there's a human in the middle of all this making decisions and things. The reality is I don't know any organization that says, we have people sitting around with nothing to do. The reality is we can't get enough risk compliance control done, and there's always more to do. And AI helps us extend that. But one of the biggest hurdles I see is the fear that AI is going to replace them. Another one is not all AI is created equal. I'm just working with a large European bank right now that is in the midst of an RFP for for GRC broadly, but part of it is regulatory change. And one of the vendors out there, they gave them some EU regulations and things and found it missed 30% of them, of the regulatory change pieces. And so there's solutions that have done rigorous testing and evaluation and context and have the right models in place. And there's other solutions where it's a little more haphazard. And so you need to make sure you engage the solutions that have a proven track record too, that can deliver.
Yeah, and in the beginning, I sort of quoted a little bit of this recent McKinsey article on the RegTech industry, and their point of view was that the specialist RegTech providers of software, and especially actually they mentioned GRC providers, will increasingly outperform the generic one-size-fits-all vendors unless these vendors adapt to the new ways of working and the rapid pace and add new functionalities like AI.
Definitely agree. And that's why, I completely agree. And that's why I talk about GRC Orchestrate, GRC architecture. It's not one solution that solves all your problems. It's an architecture, and there could be a core platform, and some of your partners are core platforms. But there's a place for Eve. There's a place for regulatory intelligence. There's a place for best of breed systems and third-party risk, and all these different things. It really requires an architecture to be able to orchestrate across all these different areas.
Is that the same thing you see, Janus?
Absolutely. I don't think any chief technology officers have enough budget or time to develop the master solution. And that's also what we see with the companies we are entering partnerships with. We actually see they understand you need to focus on what you're good at. And we have focused on a very narrow use case, that being automate compliance and control reviews. So we are partnering up with some of the biggest global providers in the industry, the core platforms, where we play our role and they continue to play their role.
Great. Are there any questions from the audience here that we can bring to this expert panel? I'll repeat the question so our online listeners can hear that. So don't make it too long.
When you're looking at this taxonomy of the AI, the risks around AI, is that as a separate category, or do you have to integrate across the taxonomy?
Yeah, so the question is now that it is AI enabled, does AI in itself bring a risk category to the GRC that maybe wasn't there and needs to be addressed first?
Oh, definitely. We need strong AI governance, and that's why I have the EU AI Act and things in there. I mean, we need to provide validation of models and the rigor there, and particularly in some industries like financial services, you're seeing a lot of like model risk management evolve into AI model risk management. In any of the technology solutions, I would be looking at how they've gone about that validation of their models and things as part of the due diligence process.
A scenario that changes the pictures like quite rapidly. How do you see that both from?
Yeah, so the question is about the predictability using AI to predict the risk picture. And then probably, can you elaborate that, Michael?
Well, AI can definitely help us on that horizon scanning. We're seeing a lot of this on regulatory change right now, to be able to not only look at the here and now regulatory change, but like, what's happening 6 months, 12 months from now, and do that horizon scanning. But the same thing's happening on risk. And what are the scenarios and the geopolitical tensions combined with the economic tensions and all this stuff to like predict like geopolitical risks on the organization. to the organization itself in context of like potential business change. And this is like one of those areas where not only do you take this intelligence in, but use the predictive analytics to leverage digital twins in the organization to predict outcomes and its impact on the business itself.
Yeah. Well, you also have to look at predictabilities on different levels, I would say.
Yeah.
And also remember, AI isn't the solution for everything. There's been predictive models for a long time, predicting fatigues and systems and others. So I think, as Michael said, you have to orchestrate with the various solutions. AI is just one in the toolbox, and then use the ones that fits for your use case and your problem, basically. But for sure, AI can power up with the analytic and the speed, which we didn't have just a few years ago.
Yeah, a question there?
Yeah, you mentioned yourself that the AI doesn't know the business. How do you handle analysis in a risk-based approach?
Yeah, I love that question. It was about the AI. My comment around our AI doesn't know the company, but what I did not mention is that we are launching a reference document, which actually allows you to upload information around your company. Let me give you an example. You upload the company's authority matrix, so who can sign on what, and then you're running AI-powered contract reviews. The AI will check then suddenly if the right person signed, but also if there are gaps and you're uploading your policies and procedures or company information, the recommendations suddenly become company-specific. It will launch soon. We'll come back with more information around it, because if you wire that with live data about the companies and externally, our solution becomes 1 + 1 is 5 suddenly, I would think. And I'm coming back to showcase it also.
Great. Any further questions? Because I think also time's up soon. So for those here and online, thank you so much for listening in to the front edge of the current world of IT in the GRC. Thank you especially to you, Michael, for joining us on this session.
It's my pleasure.
Really, really interesting.
Thank you, everyone. And we'll continue here on site.
Thank you.